Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. A lot to get into today, including our search for a striker. Are we actually going to get a striker this January? Also, the latest on the search for a fullback. We also have news on Thomas Partey. Good news or bad news? We'll find out in this video. And basically, our January transfer window. What does it have planned this January transfer window? What does Edu have planned, and what can the team afford this January transfer window? Let's start with our search for a striker, and let's start with the latest on Ivan Toney. This is what was reported last night. Ivan Toney wants to join Arsenal and would pick the club over Chelsea if both clubs are to formalize interest. However, he's expected to stay at Brentford until the end of the season. For this one to happen, I didn't really expect Toney to be joining Arsenal in January, unless they would have found a way to cook like a loan deal or something like that. And that is very, very hard. They've already done a lot of podcasts talking about that. And the couple of main things are, one, the way Brentford are performing right now, it's absolutely not good enough. They've lost 5 games in a row. They are going on for a replay in the FA Cup as well. They could easily be eliminated from that because they're traveling to Wolves next game. It could be a very, very tough season for them ahead for the next 4 months. On top of that, Visa, their other backup striker, has just gone to AFCON, and Mbeumo, one of the best players, is also injured at the moment. So all they're depending on right now is Ivan Toney to come back and save their season. Like, if they lose another 2 to 3 games in a row, even 2 games, they could easily be 17th or 18th on the table. So they have to be careful. And for them to sell their best striker, to sell a player who can come and save them, would be very, very hard, considering all the other players are also leaving. I mean, I always felt there would have been a chance maybe he joins us and then they sign a different striker, or they sign a different striker first and then they accept to sell him to us. But that is quite hard, also considering they want 100 million for him, unless you can get him on loan, because we have a good relationship with Brentford. I mean, you got the goalkeeping coach, we got Trey on loan as well. We do have a good relationship with them. But for us to get Ivan Toney, it would be very, very hard. Though, if anything happened between now and the end of January, if he was going to choose a team, according to reports, it's going to be Arsenal. So if you're positive in terms of the Ivan Toney transfer saga, then you can hold on to that. But for me personally, if you're to ask me, is he going to join Arsenal right now, yes or no, I'd say no. I've always been doubtful. I mean, I wasn't going to choose a striker because right now we are desperate. But throughout November and December, I said, I mean, this guy's missed a lot of games. Can you really depend on him to come and hit the ground running right away? Or is he actually going to come to Arsenal and, need like a couple of months to get back to speed, and we cannot afford a couple of months? That will already be April, and things could be done for us already for the season if we're not careful. So Ivan Toney, the chances of him joining Arsenal right now, if I was to bet on it, funny, you get it. Bet Toney. If I were to bet on Toney joining Arsenal, I'd say 10%, but probably, and that is maybe even higher. So very, very high. So for me, Ivan Toney, I would love him at Arsenal. He would bring something different to us. A striker who can head the ball, a striker who can run in behind, a striker who can hold the ball up for us, a striker who's experienced in the Premier League already. He's been here for a couple of years. But for him to join Arsenal, it will need a miracle. It will need a lot of money, which we can't afford this January transfer window. So we have to look for alternatives. Who are the alternatives? One of them is Dominic Solanke. What is the latest on him? Well, according to reports that have just come out today from McGrath Mike, Newcastle made an inquiry to AFC Bournemouth for Dominic Solanke, but the Cherries are adamant he won't be sold this month. One less striker target available for Arsenal, as Eduardo says. So Newcastle also interested in Dominic Solanke. They've made an inquiry, but Bournemouth have basically said no. So it could be 2 reasons. One, Bournemouth just don't want to sell completely, or 2, Newcastle didn't offer them enough money. And it comes to not offering, if Newcastle not offering Bournemouth enough money, can we really offer him more than what they're offering him? We are not in a position to spend 50, 60 million on one player. And I'm assuming maybe Newcastle offered, let's say, or made an inquiry and maybe suggested 25, 30 million. And Bournemouth this season, Solanke has been on absolute fire. He's been scoring goals. He's been scoring hat-tricks, braces. He's been really, really good this season. And he's basically up there with Salah and Haaland in terms of goals. Like, I think he's second or something on that list. So to have that many Premier League goals right now, that is incredible for him. So this is one player that when the links came out, people are like, nah, man, Dominic Solanke to Arsenal. I might have been one of them. I said, he failed at Liverpool, he failed at Chelsea. But as I said, for Toney, I don't think we're in a position to choose which strikers we want right now. I'll just welcome any kind of striker just to have, a striker who just wants to score goals there. And Dominic Solanke is one of those players. But Newcastle have made an inquiry and Bournemouth have rejected it. If they rejected it because of money, it's still hard for us to go there and propose more money. And even if they just rejected it because they don't want to sell him, makes it even more harder to get Dominic Solanke. So, I mean, by January 10th, we might have already known that we're not going to get Toney, not going to get Solanke. So we might as well start looking for different strikers if we can get one. But Dominic Solanke, I doubt Bournemouth. I mean, for Bournemouth and Brentford, they're in different positions. Bournemouth are like almost fighting for top 10 right now. They're not going to get relegated unless they have a disastrous second half of the season. But they're in a good position and they have other players around that. For Brentford, they have a lot of injuries. Bournemouth can, play the likes of Clivert and those kind of players instead of Solanke. And they can also get a different striker even from the Championship. Teams like Bournemouth, they can get a striker from the Championship and it will still work out for them and they can still score goals. And the football they're playing this season, it would be welcome for them. And I think a team like Bournemouth would want the money. But at this specific time, it's very difficult to get strikers because most of these teams want to wait until the end of the season. They don't want to throw away their season because they've been really, really good so far this season. If they sell Dominic Solanke, then you never know, things could drop off for them. So Dominic Solanke, that's the latest on him. If I was to be asked right now if I'd want Dominic Solanke at Arsenal, I'd say yes. I think he can score those goals that most of our players have been missing. If you give him those 7 chances we got against Liverpool, he at least scores twice, 2 of them. So that's the latest on Dom. So we're still looking for money to get players. The reason we're struggling for money is because we kind of need to sell players. And Nketiah has been one of those players that has been talked about in terms of leaving. What's the latest on him? According to Fabrizio Romano, it's not just Crystal Palace that want Eddie Nketiah, or many clubs are interested in Eddie Nketiah, but it's not easy for Arsenal to find a striker on the market right now. They won't go for a panic buy in a crucial position. They won't do something unless they're 100% convinced about it. It's not an easy market, and that's why before they give the green light to Nketiah, they have to find another option on the market. So it's very, very difficult to get strikers. Me and Kozi did a video talking about the strikers that could be available that Arsenal can get. Kozi gave me his 5 options. I'll link it at the end of the video. It's not easy. Right now, you're going to have to settle for the strikers that are not big names. You're not going to get Osimhen right now. You're not going to get Watkins right now. You're not going to get those kind of players. There's even been talk of Benzema potentially joining Arsenal. You might have to look for strikers like that for 5-6 months. Players like Giroud at AC Milan, can he join us? So you might have to look for players like that because it's not easy to get a striker right now. You're going to have to pay 100 to 150 million, or you get a player like who Tottenham got. Tottenham went and got a loan deal for Timo Werner. The players that are not really at the top of their game or they're kind of struggling in their teams and stuff like that, those are the kind of strikers you'd need to get right now and survive and hope the likes of Saka and Martinelli start firing and Jesus and all that. So for Eddie Nketiah, many teams are interested in him, but I can't see us not selling him, especially if you're not guaranteed to get a striker. Now, usually in every single transfer window, I prefer Arsenal being in the driving seat. I don't like when we sell players fast and then try to get players. I love what happened the last transfer window. We signed Rice, we signed Havertz, and then we allowed Xhaka to go. That means in the driving seat, you can just tell Xhaka, no, you're not going to go until we get enough money. But the moment you sell your players and then you're scrambling around to get replacements, every other team will know you need a replacement and they'll just bump the price up. So I usually prefer us being in control. But in this kind of situation, it's different. We might have to sell to get money to buy players, but I really doubt Nketiah will be sold. I'd be very surprised to see Nketiah not playing for Arsenal until the end of the season. If you aren't struggling for money, I'd definitely keep Nketiah until the end of the season and still buy a striker so you have Nketiah there as like a third option until the end of the season. I'd said I would play him in the FA Cup games and those kind of games, but now we are even out of the FA Cup, so he would still struggle for game time, but he'd still be there just in case something happened to Jesus and the new striker. Even if it's 3-4 games for him until the end of the season, he still kind of hopefully help us in that. But at the moment, you're kind of looking for money, and to get that money is one of those players that we can sell. We don't really have enough players that we want to sell that will get us enough money. The players that will get us enough money are the players that no one wants to sell, the likes of Saka and Martinelli. So the ones that want to go, you want to sell, he's one of those players who can get us money. But Eddie Nketiah, that's the latest on him. A lot of teams want him. Let's see how this one progresses. You never know. We might get someone and then Nketiah ends up leaving. Or if Nketiah leaves, I could maybe see it being a loan, but not him being sold. I can't see it. And a loan deal would not really make sense, because if you're looking for money, if it's a loan deal, you'd rather just keep him. That's the point. So that's the latest on the striker situation. It's not looking very promising at the moment in terms of strikers. That's why we'll really need Jesus and Nketiah to start firing, and Martinelli and Saka. Otherwise, they sort of just drift away. What about the fullback position? We've been linked to Kadioglu of Fenerbahce. There's been talk of other players, including Jeremy Fring Pong. What's the latest on him? I watch Leverkusen a lot, and he's one of those players that are really good. I watched him in the Europa League, and the other side is Grimaldo as well for fullbacks. So wing backs, they score a lot of goals and get a lot of assists. Like, they have license to push forward a lot. So what's the latest on him? According to Fischer Jazz, hopefully I'm saying the name right, Football, Arsenal are determined to sign Jeremy Frimpong and plan to activate his 34 million release clause this summer. Frimpong is at the top of Arsenal's list to reinforce at the right back, and the club see the release clause as an opportunity that they cannot miss. So this is one to watch out for the summer. We can't get him right now. That's probably why I expect us to get like a loan in terms of a fullback. I'd not be surprised if we get a fullback on loan, and then if they don't perform, or just a short-term loan, and then they go back to their team, and then the likes of Jeremy Frimpong could be bought at the end of the season. Now, I still expect most of our defenders to be here next season. Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, and maybe even for a longer time. I want them to be here for a long time. I don't want any of them to leave. Zinchenko, I don't think he lived this summer, but there's always an opportunity that the other summer he could leave. Like, if you're to ask me between Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba, and Zinchenko who's going to leave first, I'd probably say Zinchenko is the one who's more likely to leave first. But I'd keep all of them for next season and potentially play Ben White more at centre back, and then Kivio has a chance of leaving. So Toney, I think, will be sold. Tavares will be sold. So we have to look for fullbacks at the end of the season to also help out Tomiyasu next season. Tomiyasu is about to sign a new contract, and Jeremy Frimpong is one of those players. According to reports, he has a 34 million release clause. He's a very, very good player. And signing a player from Leverkusen, Alonso and Ateta have a good relationship from a long time ago, so maybe they can agree on that one. He'd be a very, very good signing. Right now, if you watch that Leverkusen team, all the players, Boniface up front, Hoffman in the midfield, Grimaldo, Frimpong, all of those players are. I think there's a player called Ta, if I'm not wrong. All of those players are just incredible, from goalkeeper to forward, plus their coach as well. So if you can get a player like this, that will be absolutely incredible. But it doesn't look like it's going to be this January transfer. It's one to watch out for the end of the season. So what are the plans for this transfer window? Well, according to Ryan Taylor Sport, once again, Arsenal will be ready to make their mark in the market if an opportunity that is too good to miss presents itself. A potential loan arrival at left back remains under consideration. However, unless something drastic changes, such as a significant player sale, it's expected to be a quiet month. So at the beginning of the transfer window, I asked a question, and the question was, how many players do you want this January? And those shouts for 3 players, 4 players. We're definitely not going to get 3 or 4 players. The most you're going to get is 2, and that will be very lucky. So it could be 1 player, and that could be a loan deal, because they don't want to get in trouble with FFP. They don't want to get in a situation where we are deducted points next season or something crazy like that. After we spent 200 million in the transfer window, obviously we're very unlucky with Timber. Havertz hasn't really performed like a 65 million signing. Rice, absolutely no problem. David Dreyer, it's a 50-50. Some people don't like it, some people understand it. It's all over the place. So maybe if he hadn't spent that money in Havertz, so David Dreyer, he had that 100 million, then maybe we'd have been able to spend on a striker. So it's looking very unlikely. Maybe 2 loan deals or something. Maybe like we did in 2020, just before COVID, you got Cedric and Pablo Mari at its first transfer window. I think that we'll go for a defender first, and maybe a striker from nowhere. That could be surprising. One thing that might not happen this time is a midfielder. And maybe this is one of the reasons why Thomas Partey, could he help us for the next 4 months? Well, there's good news on Thomas Partey. According to John Cross of the Mirror, Thomas Partey could give Arsenal a major boost by returning before the end of January. Partey has stepped up his rehabilitation work and could return to first team duty for Arsenal's trip to Nottingham Forest on January 30. That would be absolutely massive. If Thomas Partey can come back before that Liverpool game, that would be incredible. Because we are really depending on Declan Rice right now a lot. He's played every single game this season. Jorginho has performed well this season. We are having to depend on him right now as well. If Thomas Partey is there, and we'll finally see that midfield in the Premier League of Partey, Odegaard, and Declan Rice together. And you can play Havertz up front if you want more. You can bring him off the bench. You can, having Partey there allows you to do different things. You can play a 4-2-3-1. You can have Rice and Partey as holding midfielders. You can allow Rice to push forward. You can allow Rice rest and play Partey, Havertz, and Odegaard, and allow Rice even one game rest, because what is coming up now is even more. It's not as busy as December, but it's busy. It's busy because after the break, we're going to play against Crystal Palace at home. Now that you're out of the FA Cup, you're going to have a few breaks there. But if you're in the FA Cup, you'd have had even more games. But Crystal Palace and then Nottingham Forest away, I think after 1 week or something, or 10 days after that. So I think we're playing Crystal Palace and then we're going to rest again for like 10 days because we don't have a FA Cup. But after that, it's going to be Nottingham Forest away from home at the end of the month. You're going to have Liverpool again next month at home, and then Champions League returns next month. You have to have a squad. And Thomas Partey, him not going to AFCON is a boost for us. When they said he's not going to go AFCON, I thought he was going to be out for a really, really long time. But if he can actually be back by the end of January, that is great. Now, many people would say, I mean, he's going to get injured again, all that. Yeah, if you're a betting person, you'd probably say that. But maybe this time you're not going to depend on him to play every single game. Maybe that could help us. He plays today, he sits on the bench tomorrow, like what Man City does, the likes of Foden and those kind of players. Diaz plays tomorrow, he doesn't play the next day. Walker plays today, the next day Rico Lewis starts in the Champions League. Like the way they rotate, maybe that will allow Partey to not get injured. But also on top of that, he's been injured a few times in training and all that. But maybe it's because of the workload and that the games is hard to play for us every time he's fit. Maybe now, if we get him back fit, we can protect him more. And if I did say I wouldn't sell him in January, even if it means it's just going to play for us against Liverpool and away at Man City and away at Man United, even 3-4 games, I'd be happy to have him in those games and hopefully can help us. Even if it just means, he plays for us in a quarterfinal and a semi-final in the Champions League, I think is going to make a difference. Partey and Rice are not the same player. Rice is absolutely incredible in terms of interceptions and tackles and ball carrying, but Partey in terms of technique and getting the ball and turning and putting a long pass to Saka and Martinelli, if you have both of them in midfield, it would be perfect. So let's hope he recovers a lot. If he does recover and stay fit until the end of the season, then I don't think we quite need a midfielder. Especially if Smith Rowe stays and Fabio Vieira comes back, I think we'll have enough numbers in midfield. Obviously, they still have to perform. That's Havertz, Trossard, Smith Rowe, Vieira, Odegaard, Partey, Rice, Jorginho, all of them still have to perform. But if all of them do, then in a very, very good place and hopefully can manage the workload of all of them well. And now that you're not in the Carabao Cup and not in the FA Cup, you just have to focus on the Premier League and Champions League. Hopefully, they don't really get injured because of workload because you don't have that many games. So that's the latest news in terms of transfer and injury news on Thomas Partey. Let me know what you make about all that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.